A few months ago, I embarked on a solo hiking trip deep into the heart of the wilderness. I was an avid adventurer, seeking solace in nature's embrace. As the sun began its descent, casting long shadows over the towering trees, I realized I had underestimated the journey ahead. Nightfall was imminent, and I had no choice but to find shelter. Luck seemed to be on my side when I stumbled upon a cabin hidden among the dense forest. It was an old, weathered structure that seemed to have been forgotten by time itself. Its windows were cracked, and the front door creaked ominously as I pushed it open. Inside, the air was musty and filled with the scent of decay. A layer of dust covered everything, hinting at years of abandonment. Despite the eerie atmosphere, I convinced myself that spending the night would be better than braving the dangers of the wilderness in the dark. As the hours passed, strange noises echoed through the cabin's corridors. Whispers seemed to emanate from the walls, and the floorboards groaned as if burdened by unseen forces. I dismissed it as my imagination running wild, trying to rationalize the situation. But then, a painting on the wall caught my attention. It depicted a family, a man, a woman, and a little girl, all with wide smiles and eyes that seemed to follow me wherever I went. Their presence sent shivers down my spine. Something was off about them, something unsettling. Attempting to shake off my unease, I ventured further into the cabin, exploring the rooms one by one. In the back, I discovered a small study. On the desk, a journal lay open, its pages filled with faded ink. As I leafed through its entries, my heart sank. The author, a man who had sought refuge in the cabin just like me, chronicled his descent into madness. He described the whispers that plagued his mind, the hallucinations that tormented him day and night. The journal ended abruptly, leaving me with more questions than answers. Determined to uncover the truth, I decided to spend one more night in the cabin. Sleep eluded me as the whispers grew louder, the voices intertwining with my thoughts. I couldn't discern reality from delusion, and the boundary between them blurred. By morning, I was a mere shell of my former self. The faces in the painting had twisted into grotesque contortions, leering at me with malice. Shadows danced menacingly, mocking my feeble attempts to escape. The cabin had become a prison, and I was trapped within its walls. With the last ounce of my strength, I fled from that unholy place, not daring to look back. As I emerged from the forest, I glanced over my shoulder, expecting to see the dilapidated cabin, but it was gone, vanished without a trace, as if it had never existed. I have since tried to uncover the history of that cursed place, but my efforts have been in vain. It seems the cabin was but a mere whisper in the annals of time, a forgotten nightmare etched into the fabric of the forest. So, dear listeners, take heed of my cautionary tale. If you ever stumble upon an abandoned cabin in the woods, think twice before seeking refuge within its walls. For in those forsaken places, dark forces lie. You ever get a bad feeling about a place, but you can't explain why? Like everything looks normal on the outside, but your gut is just whispering something's wrong here. That's how I felt the second we pulled up to that cabin. So, my wife Claire and I booked this weekend getaway for our anniversary. Nothing fancy, just a little log cabin out in the mountains. We both work crazy hours, and honestly, we just wanted to unplug. No phones, no laptops, no email, just us and some wine and maybe a hot tub. Claire found the place on a cabin rental site. It had no reviews, which I thought was a little weird, but she said it was new to the site and had a good price. The pictures looked beautiful. Rustic wood interior, big fireplace, total cozy vibes. The drive up was uneventful, but the last stretch was this narrow dirt road. And once we lost cell service, I started feeling uneasy. I told myself it was just because I'm a city guy and not used to being that isolated. We got there just before dark. The cabin looked exactly like the photos. Maybe too exactly. Like, nothing had changed since they were taken. No wear and tear, no signs anyone had stayed there recently. Inside, it was spotless, no dust, no smell, not even that musty cabin scent you expect from old wood. It felt staged, like someone had set it up to look like people lived there, but no one actually did. Still, Claire was in love with it. We made dinner, lit a fire, poured some wine, and it really did start to feel like a perfect night. Until the tapping started. It was faint at first. We were sitting on a couch, talking, when I heard what sounded like something brushing the window. Just once. Then silence. I looked outside, but it was pitch black. No porch light, just woods. Claire said it was probably a tree branch in the wind. But here's the thing. There weren't any trees that close to the cabin. The yard was cleared for at least 20 feet in every direction. I didn't say anything, though. No point in freaking her out. Later, when we went to bed, the tapping started again. Not on the window this time, on the wall. A slow, irregular knock, like someone tapping with their fingernails. I got up, walked through the cabin, and checked every room. Nothing. But I couldn't shake this feeling, like someone was watching us from just beyond the trees. We barely slept that night. The next morning, things should have felt better. Sunlight, coffee, and a walk in the woods, but even in daylight, something about that place felt off. We found weird things while hiking, little arrangements of bones tied together with twine, hanging from branches. Claire thought they were folk art. I wasn't so sure. They felt intentional, like warnings, or markers. That night, the atmosphere shifted. We were sitting by the fire again, trying to play a game of cards and ignore the weird vibes. That's when we heard footsteps on the porch. Clear as day, slow and heavy. I just froze. Claire looked at me like, "Did you hear that too?" I nodded, grabbed the flashlight, and walked over to the front door. I didn't open it, just turned off the lights inside and peeked out through the curtain. There was no one there, but there were fresh footprints in the dirt. Boot prints, leading up to the porch, and none walking away. I locked the door, every window, and double-checked the back door. Claire wanted to leave right then, but it was dark, and we had no cell service. The road back was rough, and honestly, we weren't sure we could find our way in the dark. So we stayed. We pushed the dresser in front of the bedroom door and kept the lights on. At dawn, we packed up, got in the car, and didn't look back. On the way down a mountain, I finally got a couple bars of signal. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. It just said, "Thanks for letting us stay. You were quiet." We like that. I don't know who sent it, and I don't know how they had our number. To be honest, I don't want to know. We reported it to the rental site, but when we checked the listing later that day, it was gone. Like it had never existed. We tried reporting it to the local sheriff too. They just told us people sometimes play pranks on tourists, but nothing we said seemed to worry them. To this day, Claire doesn't like to talk about it. She refuses to go anywhere remote, and honestly, I don't blame her. We'll never go back. And if you ever see a listing for a beautiful little log cabin in the woods with no reviews, don't book it. Just don't. My brother died in a car accident in September, and for a while I couldn't sleep. Couldn't think. I kept expecting him to text me or be there when I got home, you know? So I booked this little cabin in North Carolina, up in the woods out in the middle of nowhere. It was quiet. No cell signal. Just trees, firewood, and a week alone. For the first day, it was exactly what I needed. Until the second night. I just finished eating when someone knocked. Just once. It startled the hell out of me. Nobody was supposed to be around for miles. I opened the door and saw this woman. Gray, tangled hair like she'd walked through a storm, and she was barefoot, even though the ground was cold and covered in pine needles. In a really calm voice, she said, "You shouldn't be here after sundown." I didn't know what to say. I thought maybe she was from a neighboring property or she had gotten lost. But she held something out to me. This little charm wrapped in burlap. It smelled like dirt and metal and something sour. "Keep this close," she said. "It's a safeguard, but do not put it on the hearth." You understand me? Do not put it on the hearth. And then she just turned around and walked back into the trees. She didn't follow the trail, and she didn't even have a flashlight. I should have left right then, but I didn't. Instead, I tossed the charm in a drawer. Figured it was just mountain superstition or some backwoods folk thing. But that night, at exactly 1:12 a.m., I woke up to creaking in the attic. Not wind, not mice, footsteps. I checked it the next morning. The attic door was latched shut, dust undisturbed. But when I came back downstairs, that charm, it was sitting on the hearthstone, dead center, like it had moved itself. I tried to be logical. Maybe I put it there and forgot. Maybe I was sleepwalking. That night, I locked it in the shed behind the cabin. deadbolt and everything. I still woke up at 1:12. No footsteps this time, but I dreamed I was under thick black tarry water. Something was looking up at me from the bottom. A woman. Her mouth wasn't moving, but I could hear her whisper, "She lied to you." Next morning, I opened the shed. The charm was gone, back on the hearth. And this time, there was something beside it. A ring. It was all bent with dried blood on the band. I left the cabin and drove about 20 miles to the nearest town, straight to a gas station where I saw this guy who looked like he'd lived there forever. I described the woman and the charm she gave me. He just stared at me and said, "Maud Weller? She's been dead 40 years. She was real. Used to live up near my cabin. People said she'd leave little charms around to keep people from disturbing the place." The guy told me her son killed 3 hikers in the 70s, then took him back to that cabin. They say she buried what was left under the hearthstone. I drove back, heart in my throat, ready to throw that charm into the fire. But when I opened the door, the whole house felt wrong, like pressure in your ears before a storm, like something was waiting. The charm was on the hearth, but the ring was gone. I bent down, grabbed the charm, and heard a sound behind me. Not footsteps, not wind. It was like breathing, coming from inside the chimney. I threw the charm into the fire. It screamed. I don't have another word for it. The smoke turned black and thick, and then silence. The house went still again. I left before sunrise, threw everything into the car, and just drove. 2 weeks later, a small package showed up on my porch. No return address. Inside was a piece of chardwood. From the cabin, I think. It had one word carved into it, my name. Sometimes now, in the middle of the night, I'll wake up at exactly 1:12 a.m. And just for a second, I swear I can smell pine wood and burned twine.